The Odyssey, a timeless epic of homecoming and resilience. Imagine being lost at sea for 10 long years. Not because you don't know the way home, but because the gods themselves keep steering you away. Every island hides a new trial. Every wave carries a new threat. The storms never end. All you want is to return to your wife, your son, and your kingdom. But fate has other plans. This is the Odyssey, Homer's timeless epic of the greatest homecoming in history. A journey not just across seas, but through temptation, loss, cunning escapes, and the limits of human endurance. Today we follow Odysseus, the king of Ithaca, on his perilous voyage, and see how far a man will go when home is all he longs for. The Odyssey is the sequel to Homer's other great epic, the Iliad, which told the story of the Trojan War. When the war ends, the Greek heroes sail for home. For most, the journey takes weeks or months, but for Odysseus, it will take 10 years, filled with shipwrecks, monsters, and the constant interference of the gods. It's not just a tale of adventure, it's about the longing for home, the test of loyalty, and the cleverness needed to survive when brute strength is not enough. The Odyssey is divided into 3 main movements. 1, the Telemachy, where we meet Odysseus' son, Telemachus, and follow his search for news of his father. 2, Odysseus' wanderings, the main adventure episodes told largely in flashback. 3, the homecoming, Odysseus' return to Ithaca, and his battle to reclaim his kingdom. Let's begin where Homer begins, not with the hero himself, but with the son who barely remembers him. Part 1. The Telemachy, a son's search. It's been 20 years since Odysseus sailed for Troy, 10 years fighting the war, 10 years lost at sea. In Ithaca, the palace has been overrun by arrogant young nobles, the suitors, all hoping to marry Penelope, Odysseus' wife, believing he is long dead. These suitors feast on Odysseus' food, drink his wine, and insult his household. They mock his young son, Telemachus, who feels powerless to stop them. Then the goddess Athena, Odysseus' divine protector, appears in disguise. She encourages Telemachus to stand up to the suitors and to search for his father. Gathering courage, Telemachus calls a public assembly, his first act as a man. He boldly condemns the suitors, but they laugh him off. Undeterred, he secretly prepares a ship. His journey takes him first to Pylos to visit King Nestor, who fought alongside his father. Nestor tells him of the war's aftermath but has no news of Odysseus. He sends Telemachus onward to Sparta, where King Menelaus and Queen Helen, yes, that Helen, welcome him. Here, Telemachus hears a vital clue. Odysseus is alive, but stranded on the island of the nymph Calypso, unable to return home. Part 2. Odysseus' wanderings. Years earlier, his ships had been destroyed and his crew killed. He alone had washed ashore on Calypso's island, Ogygia. Calypso is a beautiful immortal who has fallen in love with him. She offers him something most mortals could only dream of, eternal youth and life at her side. But Odysseus refuses. His heart belongs to Penelope, and his only wish is to return to Ithaca. The gods hold a council, and Hermes, the messenger, delivers Zeus's command. Calypso must let him go. She reluctantly helps him build a raft, and he sets sail. But the sea god Poseidon has not forgotten or forgiven Odysseus for blinding his son, the Cyclops Polyphemus. He sends a massive storm, shattering the raft. Odysseus clings to life and washes ashore in the land of the Phaeacians. There, Princess Nausicaa finds him and leads him to her father's court. The Phaeacians treat Odysseus as an honored guest. During a grand feast, Odysseus begins to tell the story of the long, perilous journey that brought him here. The tale of his adventures. 1. The Cicones. Fresh from Troy, Odysseus and his men raid the coastal city of the Cicones. They win easily, but instead of leaving, they stay to celebrate. The Cicones call for reinforcements, and the Greeks are driven back to their ships, losing many men. 2. The Lotus Eaters. Driven off course, they land among the lotus eaters, whose fruit makes men forget home and purpose. Some of his men taste it and wish to stay forever. Odysseus drags them back aboard, lashing them to the benches until they sober up. 3. The Cyclops. Next comes the island of the Cyclopes. In a cave stocked with food, they meet Polyphemus, a giant with one eye. He traps them and begins eating the crew. Odysseus tricks him, saying his name is Nobody. When Polyphemus sleeps, they drive a red-hot stake into his eye. Blinded, he roars in pain. "Nobody is hurting me," he cries, and the other Cyclopes ignore him. They escape by clinging to the bellies of his sheep, but as they sail away, Odysseus, proud and reckless, shouts his real name. Polyphemus prays to his father Poseidon to curse him, to delay his return, to make it bitter, and to cause him to lose all his companions. 4. Aeolus and the Bag of Winds. The wind god Aeolus welcomes Odysseus and gives him a bag containing all the winds, except the one that will blow them home. They sail in sight of Ithaca, but while Odysseus sleeps, his curious crew opens the bag thinking it's treasure. The winds burst free, driving them all the way back to Aeolus, who refuses to help again. 5. The Laestrygonians. They next encounter the Laestrygonians, giant cannibals who smash their ships with boulders and spear the sailors like fish. Only Odysseus's own ship escapes. 6. Circe's Island. On the island of Aea lives the enchantress Circe. She turns some of the men into pigs. With Hermes' magical herb, Odysseus resists her spell and forces her to restore them. She becomes his ally, warning him of the dangers ahead and sending him to the underworld for guidance. 7. The Underworld. In the land of the dead, Odysseus meets the ghost of the prophet Tiresias, who warns, "Avoid harming the cattle of the sun god, or disaster will follow." He meets his mother, who died of grief while waiting for him, and the shades of great warriors, including Agamemnon, murdered by his wife, who warns Odysseus to be cautious at home. 8. The Sirens. Back at sea, Odysseus faces the Sirens, whose song lures sailors to shipwreck. He plugs his crew's ears with wax and has himself tied to the mast, longing to hear their voices without steering toward destruction. 9. Scylla and Charybdis. They must pass between Scylla, a six-headed monster that snatches sailors, and Charybdis, a deadly whirlpool. Odysseus chooses the lesser evil, losing 6 men to Scylla, but sparing the rest. 10. The Cattle of the Sun. Storm-bound on Helios's island, Odysseus's men, starving, slaughter the sacred cattle while he sleeps. Helios demands justice. Zeus strikes their ship with a thunderbolt, killing all but Odysseus. 11. Calypso's island. Clinging to wreckage, Odysseus drifts to Calypso's shore, where he will remain for years until the gods intervene, bringing us back to where the story began. Part 3. The Homecoming. The Phaeacians, moved by his tale, give Odysseus a ship and riches. He finally reaches Ithaca, but Athena warns him. The suitors are still in control. Disguised as a beggar, he first visits the loyal swineherd Eumaeus, who offers him food and shelter without knowing who he is. Telemachus soon returns from his own journey. Father and son reunite in a deeply emotional moment, and together they plot the suitors' downfall. Meanwhile, Penelope continues to resist pressure to choose a new husband. She promises to decide once she finishes weaving a burial shroud. But each night, she secretly unravels her work. This trick has kept the suitors waiting for years. Penelope announces a contest. Whoever can string Odysseus's great bow and shoot an arrow through 12 axe heads will be her husband. One by one, the suitors fail. The beggar, still Odysseus in disguise, asks for a turn. He strings the bow effortlessly and makes the shot. Odysseus throws off his disguise. With Telemachus, Eumaeus, and a few loyal servants, he kills the suitors in a bloody battle. Disloyal maids are executed, and the palace is cleansed. Penelope, cautious, tests him. She orders the bed to be moved, but Odysseus protests that it is built into the trunk of an olive tree and cannot be moved. This secret detail proves his identity. Husband and wife are finally reunited after 20 long years. The Odyssey endures because it speaks to something deep in us all. Life itself can feel like a long voyage, filled with storms, strange lands, and trials we never asked for. But like Odysseus, if we keep our purpose clear, if we use our wits, if we refuse to surrender, we too can find our way home. And when we finally arrive, after all the years, all the losses, all the battles, that first embrace will make the entire journey worth it. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this summary, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Sounder Books.